For 50-year-old Kelly Coppola and 53-year-old Kenneth Pullman, the summer of 2024 was full of joy. Both had been through terrible losses. Kelly from a bad marriage and tough divorce, Kenny from his first wife dying from cancer 17 years before. When they found each other, their families said they'd never seen either of them so happy. Their relationship was building something amazing, a mixed family that included Kenny's kids, Brianna, 25, Tyler, 21, and Jenna, 14, along with Kelly's 15-year-old daughter, Gianna. But their second shot at love had caught the eye of someone who thought Kelly didn't deserve happiness. Someone who'd been planning revenge for months. Someone who'd do anything to wreck what they'd created together.
One day, or one night, an evil monster decided to break in his house and kill them in cold blood.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Kelly Jean Coppola was born in 1974 and grew up on Long Island with her parents, John and Karen. Right from the start, she was what her family called the ultimate daddy's girl. Her sister-in-law, Lori Patton, who met Kelly's brother Ryan in high school, said Kelly was super close to both parents. She called her mom every single day. She was her father's pride and joy. Kelly went to Sachem High School with her two brothers, Ryan and Kyle. Lori, who'd known Kelly for 27 years, said she was always gorgeous and fun. Kelly had tons of friends she cared about. She stayed in touch with everyone. She had this light inside her. She was a bubbly person who always spread happiness. She constantly had a smile on her face. Growing up, Kelly was really close to her extended family, including her stepbrother and stepsister, Keith and Courtney. She was someone who never forgot a birthday, never missed reaching out to people she loved. Her nieces and nephews would later call her the best aunt ever because she never skipped a soccer game or school event. After high school, Kelly's life went the way many young women's lives go. She met Daniel Coppola and they eventually got married. Together, they had a daughter, Gianna, who became the absolute center of Kelly's world. For a while, things looked normal from the outside. Kelly worked in accounting at a media company, juggling her career with being a mom. She was devoted to Gianna, showing up to every cheerleading competition, every school event. Lori said a lot of their world was cheer competitions, and Kelly took the time to always be there. Her goal was making sure Gianna was taken care of and also doing fun things for Gianna, taking her on trips or into the city or to Great Adventure or Disney World. She wanted to make Gianna as happy as she could. But behind the picture of family life, Kelly was struggling. Those close to her knew her marriage to Daniel was troubled. Kelly, being a private person, didn't often talk about her marriage problems openly, but the signs were there. Her family would later say Daniel was abusive. Police records would later show there'd been one documented domestic incident during their marriage, though it was labeled non-criminal. But for Kelly's family, they knew the truth was darker than what showed up on paper. Eventually, Kelly made the brave choice to leave. The divorce process was, by all accounts, hostile and hard. Detective Lieutenant Kevin Barer said, "Apparently, the divorce is final." Apparently, it was a hostile divorce. What Kelly didn't know then was just how much Daniel blamed her for what he saw as his money problems. The bitterness and anger were building under the surface, getting more dangerous every day. The divorce was finalized sometime in 2022 or 2023, just 1 or 2 years before Kelly died. For Kelly, it meant freedom from a marriage that had hurt her. She could finally focus on being the mom Gianna deserved and maybe one day finding happiness again. Kelly stayed close to her family through this tough time. As Kelly came out of her divorce, she was finally ready to embrace life again. She was working, raising Gianna, staying connected to her family and friends. What Kelly didn't know was that her fresh start was about to bring her to someone who would change everything. Kenneth Pullman Jr., known to everyone as Kenny, had his own story of heartbreak and strength. He was the oldest of 4 kids. John, Tony Ann, and Tommy came after him. His brother Tommy later said, "We weren't John, we weren't Tommy. We were always Kenny Pullman's little brother or little sister." Growing up on Long Island, the Pullman kids were raised in a different time. Tommy remembered him and his siblings growing up when there were no phones or video games. Kids spent time playing in the neighborhood and would go home when the streetlights came on. The Pullmans played sports from an early age, whether it was stickball, football, or kickball. You name it, the whole neighborhood was always outside playing. Kenny had graduated from SUNY Old Westbury and built a great career in IT. For 18 years, he'd worked as a senior account executive at Converged Technology Group. Tommy said, "If you knew Kenny, you loved him. And if you didn't know him, I'm sorry. You didn't get to experience his love for life and his joy for life." But it was Kenny's role as a dad that really defined him. He'd married young. His first wife was named Kim. Together, they had 2 kids, Brianna and Tyler, and built a happy family life. The couple was devoted to each other and their children. Then in 2007, when Kenny was just in his mid-30s, tragedy hit. Kim was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Despite fighting hard, she lost her battle, leaving Kenny to raise Brianna and Tyler as a single dad. After Kim's death, Kenny threw himself into being the best father he could be. He created the Pullman Foundation to help raise money for cancer research in his wife's memory. His dedication to his kids was rock solid. Later, Kenny remarried and had his youngest daughter, Jenna. The Pullman family would travel together to Disney, go on cruises, and take other trips together. However, that second marriage eventually ended too, leaving Kenny once again a single father, this time to 3 kids. But around 2023, about a year and a half before his death, Kenny met Kelly Coppola. Both were single parents who'd been through tremendous pain. Both were ready to start fresh. When they met, it was like 2 puzzle pieces had finally found their perfect match. Kenny's father said they were soulmates. He brought out the best in her, and she brought out the best in him. They had a second chance. "My son lost his wife 17 years ago." Kelly's family was equally touched by the change they saw. Lori Patton said Kelly was in love for the first time in a long time. She embraced his family and he embraced Gianna and the rest of her family. They were both really family-focused. The time she was with Kenny was the happiest of her life. We'd never seen her with someone who treated her so well. The couple moved in together at a beautiful $1.1 million 6-bedroom house on Brasswood Road in St. James. It was more than just a house, it was becoming the foundation for their blended family. Kenny's 3 kids, Brianna, 25, Tyler, 21, and Jenna, 14, welcomed Kelly and 15-year-old Gianna with open arms. Tommy wanted to make it clear this wasn't a casual relationship. He said, "Kenny's been portrayed as the new boyfriend or the new beau." Kenny and his family welcomed Kelly and her family into their home. He wasn't the new beau. He wasn't the new boyfriend. This was 2 families coming together, creating something beautiful from the ashes of their past tragedies. In June 2024, Kenny threw Kelly the perfect 50th birthday party. For Kelly's family, seeing her so genuinely happy was everything they'd hoped for after years of watching her struggle in her marriage to Daniel. While Kelly and Kenny didn't get married, their commitment to each other and their blended family was total. They were building a life together, making plans for the future, creating a home filled with love and laughter. Tommy said, "I want people to focus on the love they had for each other when they died. The love Kenny had for his family and friends and the love we all had for Kenny," he added. "No matter the circumstances, people deserve to be happy in life. Divorced, not divorced. I don't care what the circumstances are. They died in love with each other. If we can take a little piece out of all this, it's that they died loving each other."
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
But there was one person who couldn't accept Kelly and Kenny's happiness. Daniel Coppola watched his ex-wife's newfound joy with growing resentment and rage. Once he learned about Kelly's relationship with Kenny, the threat started. Kenny's family said there'd been numerous threats from Daniel. The Pullman family knew Daniel was bitterly jealous, but they had no idea just how dangerous that jealousy would become. What they didn't know was that Daniel had been planning his revenge for months. August 28, 2024 was a typical Wednesday evening in the quiet, wealthy Long Island area of St. James. Kelly and Kenny were settling in for the night at their shared home on Brasswood Road. The house had become a safe place for their blended family, a place where love had won over past pain. 15-year-old Gianna was at home, probably getting ready for another day at Smithtown High School East, where she was a cheerleader with the Long Island Cheer Diamonds. It should have been just another peaceful evening in their new life together. But 3 miles away on Harbor Road in head of the harbor, Daniel Coppola was getting ready to put his plan into action. Earlier that evening, Daniel had been driving with Gianna in the car. His behavior had been all over the place and scary, driving recklessly, hitting things. The 15-year-old got so scared that she asked her father to take her back to her mom's house. Daniel agreed, but once at the Brasswood Road home, he didn't just drop Gianna off and leave. At around 11:30 p.m., Daniel texted his 15-year-old daughter asking about Kenneth's bedroom location. He then told Gianna to come outside and get into his car. The teenager, not knowing what her father was planning, did what he said. She had no clue that she was about to become an unwitting part of the most horrible night of her life. With his daughter waiting in the car, Daniel hid himself behind a bush near the front of the house. He shot through the front door lock, forcing his way into the home. He went upstairs to where Kelly and Kenny were. The attack was quick and brutal. Both Kelly and Kenny were shot to death. In his rush to get away, Daniel left behind his sandals at the crime scene. As Daniel got back to his car where his traumatized 15-year-old daughter was waiting, he made a confession that would haunt Gianna forever. He told his daughter, "I killed your mother and Kenny." The 3-mile drive back to Daniel's home on Harbor Road must have been a nightmare for the teenager. As he drove, Gianna started texting her friends desperately. "I don't know what my father did. I don't know how my mother is," she wrote. Gianna's friends tried to reach Kelly, but couldn't get through. Something was terribly wrong. At 11:45 p.m., Gianna called 911 from her father's home, reporting that her father was threatening to kill himself with a gun. Officers responded right away to the Harbor Road address. Meanwhile, at 11:54 p.m., Gianna's worried friends made their own 911 call to report that the teenager had left her mother's home with her father without Kelly's permission. When officers arrived at Daniel's home, they found him and arrested him for the suicide threats. Gianna showed them to a black semi-automatic handgun that Daniel had hidden in the house. At the same time, other officers went to the Brasswood Road address. What they found there was a scene of unimaginable violence. The front door had been forced open. Inside, they discovered Kelly and Kenneth, both dead from gunshot wounds. As the sun came up on Thursday, August 29th, the full horror of what happened started to come out. Police began processing both crime scenes, Daniel's home on Harbor Road and the murder scene on Brasswood Road. What investigators found was shocking. During a search of Daniel's home, they found typewritten documents detailing his murder plot in what prosecutors would later call excruciating detail. The planning document said, "I am of sound mind, and I know exactly what I'm going to do." Daniel had prepared individual bullets marked with the names of everyone involved in his divorce case, not just Kelly and Kenny, but both parties' divorce attorneys. Assistant District Attorney Eric Abulafia would later reveal in court that Daniel had even had a bullet for his own attorney. The evidence showed Daniel blamed Kelly entirely for what he saw as his financial ruin. His rage extended to everyone he blamed for his problems. He'd thought about a much bigger massacre that would have targeted everyone connected to his divorce. At the crime scene on Brasswood Road, investigators found Daniel's sandals. One of them was discovered underneath Kenneth's body. Kenny's brother Tommy would later say, "My brother died trying to protect Kelly." Even in death, Kenny had been trying to save the woman he loved. Body cam footage captured Daniel's immediate confession to the murders when officers first arrested him. Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney called the murders a premeditated ambush and execution. On August 29, 2024, Daniel was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. During his arraignment on August 30, he pleaded not guilty and was held without bail. The courtroom was packed with family members and friends of the victims, with outbursts from the crowd as one person called Daniel a murderer. Kelly's father, John Patton, described the sadness the family was feeling as overwhelming. As prosecutors reviewed the extensive evidence of planning, the charges were upgraded on September 6 to 4 counts of first-degree murder. If convicted, Daniel would face life in prison without parole. The legal proceedings took a dramatic turn when Daniel suffered a self-inflicted spinal cord injury while on suicide watch at Suffolk County Jail. He needed surgery and appeared at court from his hospital bed. His defense attorney, Stephen Politi, said he suffered an injury while in the jail. The extent of that we're trying to figure out with the doctors. I don't think anyone who's ever been charged with murder is in a positive mental state. The murders sent shockwaves through the Long Island community. The response was immediate and overwhelming. A GoFundMe campaign called Kenny's Kids was set up by his employer, Converged Technology Group, to support Kenny's 3 children. The fund raised over $148,000, approaching its $150,000 goal. A separate fund called Support Gianna After Tragic Loss was created by Kelly's family to help the traumatized teenager. The fund raised over $96,000 in just 5 days, with more than 1,000 donations flooding in from people touched by the tragedy. Kenny's memorial service was held at St. Elizabeth of Hungary Church in Melville on September 3 with hundreds attending. Family members described Kenny as a friend to everyone whose smile and positive attitude were contagious. Kelly's services were held at Maloney's Holbrook Funeral Home on September 4 to 5, where she was remembered for her vibrant personality and contagious smile. Tommy Pullman was determined that his brother's legacy wouldn't be overshadowed by the violence that took his life. Tommy said, "We're not going to let a terrible murderer overshadow the life and legacy of my brother. Number 1, we have his kids. His kids will be taken care of. I would tell him I love him one more time. All of my siblings would tell him that it was an honor and a privilege to be known as Kenny Pullman's little brother. We will always be Kenny Pullman's little brother." For Gianna, the trauma of that night, of being used as an unknowing participant in her father's plan, of hearing his confession, is unimaginable. The 15-year-old cheerleader now lives with family members, supported by her extended family and community as she tries to process the horror of losing her mother in such a violent way. In the end, that love, imperfect and cut short as it was, remains the most powerful part of their story.
So we've had Kenny in our life for 53 years, 7 months, 17 days, 14 hours, and 29 minutes. Thank you, John, for that. My son, John, he's the accountant.